Welcome back, guys. Or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's the 2025 Mazda CX-5. But more specifically, this is a turbo signature, so it is the apex trim level of the CX-5 for this year, and it's in a really nice paint color called Machine Gray Metallic, which really has a lot of metallic flake in the paint. But although this is Mazda's best-selling vehicle and one of the best compact crossovers you can buy globally, it's not perfect. So today, I get to share the good, the bad, and the ugly of the CX-5 to help you guys decide if it is worth buying in the year 2025, or if you should leave it at the lot and maybe look at the other compact crossover competition. So today, you can expect to see a walk around, all the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on GPS, and then my final thoughts. And huge thanks to the Goody Motor Mazda Group for letting me borrow this one for the day. I'll link them below if you're interested because they sell below MSRP and they ship all over the country. And with that said, let's dive right into this review. And if you like Mazda, the CX-5, or my video, please be so kind to consider liking my video. Basically, that lets me know you want to watch more stuff like this, helps the video get shared, but it'll help you as well by having the YouTube choose to show you more stuff like this. Thank you so much. But if you're new to the Mazda CX-5, or even Mazda as a company in general, there's a few things that you guys should probably know. First of all, they are a Japanese automaker, but they started business in 1920. It wasn't even until 1931, though, that they produced their first car. And like the other Japanese automakers, such as Toyota, Honda, and Subaru, they're known for building affordable, reliable, family consumer vehicles. And this is really no exception. The CX-5 has been a huge hit. It first came out in 2013. The first generation ran for around 4 years. And then this one is still part of the second generation that's been out since about 2017. But the sales numbers have not faded. This has had a few refreshments and refinements over the years, but currently it sells around 400,000 units a year globally. This one is a US spec model, which was assembled in Japan, and we usually get about 150,000 of these every single year. So they do sell about as well as the Subaru Forester, but not quite as well as the CR-V or the Toyota RAV4, which is the closest competition to this compact crossover. But a lot of people like their Mazdas, and I'm not surprised. Compared to the other Japanese automakers, which make, again, affordable, reliable cars, Mazda's the sporty one. They have sometimes the best looks, the most uniform design, but they just drive differently, they drive better, and being a Japanese automaker that's not only built for the United States market, there's a very much a human-centric approach to this design, and the interior just feels a little bit different than it does on a lot of other compact crossovers. I've driven a lot of CX-5s over the last few years, and I have to say every single year, I honestly think I like it more and more. I don't think that this feels like an aging platform when it still competes pretty aggressively against the competition, but there's 8 trim levels of it offered for this year. A base model, which is actually pretty decent, starts at about $29,000. This being the Turbo Signature, being the Apex, the highest of the 8 trim levels, it's about a $40,000 MSRP before destination, before delivery, before any extra add-ons. This one, as it sits, MSRP is for about $43.5 before Goody Motor gives you a good discount on it. And for that, not only do you get all the standard features that you get on the lower trim levels, like LED headlights, this also has rear cross traffic alert, blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, lane tracking assist, a bunch of other stuff too. But it also has ventilated seats. It has a 360-degree camera, and it just has a bunch of other nice interior bits that are going to make you feel like you are in something that costs even more than $43,000 in my opinion. One of the things that's really nice about compact crossovers, which is this class of vehicle, but also the RAV4 and the Tesla Model Y, which those are the 2 global leading compact crossovers and the best-selling vehicles in the world currently, is they're just really convenient. This fits really well, very easy to park, in an average-sized parking spot, while really maximizing the space that it has. Overall, it's about 15 feet long, with an 8.8-foot wheelbase, which is good enough to be very stable on the road. It's roughly 6 feet wide, and about 5.5 feet tall. It has a payload capacity of 850 pounds. That means you can carry 850 pounds worth of people and stuff between the interior volume, the cargo area, and those low-profile roof rails. It can also tow up to about 2,000 pounds, and it has about 8 inches of ground clearance with, I believe, a 409 final axle ratio, so it puts the power down pretty decently. Has a mechanical all-wheel drive system, which works really well. I have driving videos of this in the winter from last year, and it can do a full circle and 36 feet, which is very similar to a lot of the other best performing compact crossovers. But the last few things to mention on the exterior is the gas door is right where I like it to be on the driver's side. It is locking, so there is a button to unlock it when you are inside the vehicle by the driver footwell, but it's a 15-gallon tank, which isn't huge, but there's also not a ton of room on this smaller, shorter vehicle to carry a lot. So this one, because it does not have cylinder deactivation or I start stop, which I am thrilled about because those systems are not necessarily known for longevity and reliability. It's only rated for 22 in the city, 27 on the highway. So your max road trip and range is probably going to be about 400 miles. And then it has a Toyo A36 all-season tire that has around 10-30 seconds of tread. It's a 225 5519 with a polished gray wheel that looks fantastic and really complements this vehicle nicely. And one of the best things about this Mazda is there is not a wall of black plastic cladding. It is color matched. Look at that. It's really nice. But then you have the typical Mazda key that has all the buttons on the side to lock, unlock, power liftgate, panic button. You're welcome to leave that in your pocket though if you want, because you do have proximity key features right there with the button that works very quick, and I like it a lot. Otherwise, the driver's side door panel, like a lot of Mazdas, it's mostly black with a few other accent colors and features. It does have the Bose speakers because that's what you're going to get on a higher trim level Mazda, and they do sound much better than the factory speakers. The doors open really wide. It's easy to get into this vehicle, and it's easy to slide right on over. At 5'11", the seat is just a little bit shorter than where my hip or my pelvis would typically be. But you have memory seats. You have all the powered features. The mats are not yet installed. You have rubberized pedals. There's your gas door release and your hood release. The extra buttons and options, ventilation, lighting stock, paddle shifters on the back of this leather-wrapped tilt and telescoping steering wheel, and then just a gorgeous leather seat that's climate controlled with some ventilation and some heat. But then you only have a small sunroof up top. But sitting inside here is just a really nice place to be. I think the Mazda interior engineers have done a great job designing the cockpit of your 250 horsepower Turbo CX-5. The leather-wrapped wheel is nice. The horn, it's actually pretty darn loud. You have voice and volume controls on the left, all of your adaptive cruise settings right there on the right. When we fire it up, notice the steering responsive LED headlights actually do a little theatrical display. You can also see the heads-up display right there. Pretty cool system. Otherwise, you can go through info. You can check out a variation of information. It wants me to probably put my seatbelt on first, which we're not going to do because we're not driving quite yet. The screen can probably be a touch screen. You'd probably have to turn that on. But more importantly, you have wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. I used to own a Mazda Miata with this system. It works really good. But this upgraded larger screen is fantastic. You also have vents, physical climate controls, heated steering wheel, ventilation seats, heated seats, everything else that your heart could hopefully desire. You have a 12-volt, a wireless charger that slants down so your phone's not going to slide out and get lost between the seat cushions, which I really appreciate. Backup camera turns into the 360-degree camera. You also have a button for that on the side of the dashboard over here. And everything is steering responsive, which is really nice. Otherwise, you have the drive modes. You can go sport, normal, or off-road. You have electronic parking brake, auto vehicle hold. You have the scrolly dial to control the screen. I love that feature, so it really doesn't distract you while you're driving. Also, this isn't a huge, in-your-face vertical screen or horizontal screen that's going to age poorly. Mazda screens, I think, age really well. You also have your volume control, which you can hold that button down and turn off the screen. And then you have some cup holders, and then a pretty decent center console area with a lifty tray and some plugins and another 12-volt. Otherwise, garage door openers, auto-dimming mirrors, and just a really nice wide horizontal rear view mirror. You have a place for your shades, and then you have some controls for the sunroof up there. Otherwise, is this LED or incandescent? Ooh, it's LED. Good. And then there is a little extension piece right there. But with that said, let's hop into the back of the CX-5 and see how well we fit. The back of Mazdas are usually a little bit tighter than some of the other competitors in their class, but those doors open huge. That opens so much bigger than my RAV4. This is way more convenient, at least up until this point on entry. The door panel, it's all kind of what you expect. Soft touch, nicer materials. They're going to age well. There's even the wood trim, just like there was up front, which I didn't mention. The fake chrome type of aluminum accent. and a small pocket down here for some snacks. Otherwise, this is the 60/40 split seat. Let's see how heavy it is. It's heavier than some of the other ones, a little bit more difficult to move. You could also see with my seat in its current position, you wouldn't even be able to lay quite flat. There's also not a ton of legroom. If you've seen my other reviews, you know that this is not a lot of legroom for a compact crossover. I have a nice leather mat pocket though, some vents, no outboard heated seats, no plugins, because check this out. Here they are. Mazda likes to hide them in the center seat. So if you have a center seat occupant, you're not going to be able to enjoy those quite the same. Anyways, visibility is pretty good from back here. You can't see from my actual eye level a lot of the glass right here, but from the front it's pretty nice. Mazda windows are not as big as some other vehicles, but overall it's good enough. And with that said, let's hop out and I'll show you the hatch. I think the back of this Mazda CX-5 actually looks pretty decent. It does specify that it is a signature trim level with all-wheel drive, and it has the Skyactiv G Turbo, which is a pretty big deal in the Mazda world. Anyways, there's about 4 different common ways to get into the back. You can either push the button that's on the dashboard. You can climb through the back seats, push the button that's underneath the Mazda emblem, or just use the button on the remote on the power liftgate. And I do want to say these keys fit really conveniently in your pocket because they are pretty narrow, which I like that. A little bit slow to respond, but it seems to do the job, and it looks like both sides are electronically controlled, so they are not as likely to fail. They're not having to work as hard. But back here, you don't have a ton of room compared to some other compact crossovers. You have roughly 29 cubic feet of room behind the second row, which is closer to being competitive. But when you drop the seats, which you have some handles to do so, you can even drop the center seat, which is cool, you have closer to about 60 cubic feet. And then down here, there should be a subwoofer and a spare tire, which is just a temporary, with all of your tools to change it. Hopefully that never happens to you. Anyways, it's a pretty nice place to be. And then up here, you can lower, but you can't lower and lock with the same button. If we come around to the front and you get to ride in the shotgun seat, your door panel is going to look very similar to the driver's side. You can still see that Bose is advertised. You just miss a little bit of the switchgear, but you still have powered seats. My backpack, personally, on a 30-degree day like today, is really enjoying the heated feature. I just wish there was transmission tunnel storage or above the glove box. I know that wouldn't look as classy as this design is probably built for, but it would be a little bit more functional. Glove box is not huge. There's no 12 volts or anything in here, but I can live with that. Anyways, guys, let's come around to the front. I'm going to pop the hood, and I'll show you what the 2.5-liter Skyactiv G engine looks like. Under the hood is actually a very reliable, pretty stout little powertrain, kind of an old school design. It has a 6-speed automatic transmission. That's only 6 speeds. Most of these are, CVT or 8 to 10 speed these days. But Mazda's holding on to what they think works well. And even though it's not the fastest shifting thing, it just feels sturdy, and I like that. Anyways, this is a 2.5-liter Skyactiv G. So if it's on regular octane fuel, it's tuned in the computer to make about 227 peak horse, around 6,000 RPM, and then about 310 pound-feet of torque in the lower RPM range. But when you put in some 91 premium fuel, those numbers get pumped up to 250 horse and 320 pound-feet of torque. Otherwise, it looks like the computer's right there. The periphery has reservoirs. 0W30, that's not a very common oil. And then the oil dipstick, you can see that it's transversely mounted, so the serpentine belt, the alternator, all the accessories are on this side. Just under there is the engine bracket. And then the air box, you have a fuse box, you have the battery. Everything in here looks like it's pretty easy to work on if you ever have to. And with that said, let's drop the hood, take this thing for a drive. Initial driving impressions of the 2025 CX-5 Turbo. First of all, we have to get up to speed. Partial throttle. The turbo engine sounds good. Notice it's not revving overly high because a lot of the peak torque comes on pretty low. But overall, this vehicle drives and rides like a lot of the other CX-5s, despite the wheel size, despite the specific tire on this one. It still drives very comfortably. Visibility is pretty good, although Mazdas don't have as much as some other compact crossovers. you can still see everything that you need to. Because this vehicle is not overly long and it's very compact, you can really see right down the center rear view mirror. And then while these mirrors do look sporty from the exterior, there's a lot of surface area of mirror, so you can really see quite well. I'm gonna show you how it changes directions in just a second, but at first I'm gonna be quiet so you can listen to the wind and road noise. This is actually pretty good. I just hopped out of a CX-30 and this is quieter, although there might be less wind out right now than there was before. This hands down has different acoustics on the interior and it just sounds quieter on the exterior. Part of that could also be the tires. This does have a different setup, but overall it just feels like a really nice, smooth, comfortable ride. It changes directions really well. It feels sporty, although not as sporty as the lighter weight CX-30. This, for being a compact crossover, compared to things like the CR-V and the Toyota RAV4, this just handles so much better. The Bose speakers with the sub in the back by the tire really sound quite decently, and I just love the clear acoustics of this vehicle. Overall, it's designed well. The cup holders on this Mazda are where they should be, unlike the 30 and the 50. You can fit as big of a drink as you want. It's just a really nice place to be. There's gonna be a bump up ahead in just a minute. But overall, my initial driving impressions of this vehicle is that it is a good one, and I highly recommend you check one out for yourself. But pay attention to this bump. It's a little bit stiffer than it would be on some other vehicles because of the sport tuned suspension and the larger diameter wheel. But honestly, it's not bad. This is really nice. It does have a mechanical drive shaft and all-wheel drive system. These do really good in the winter. I have some driving winter videos of these. And honestly, I like it a lot, but let me go find the private road and we'll do a 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the turbo CX-5. Keep in mind, density altitude's 2,500 feet. So this turbo engine is down on power, probably about 4%. It is in sport mode. I'm gonna do a little bit of a brake rev and we'll see what it can do. And true 0 to 60 came in at 7.12 seconds, or a high 6 without the foot of rollout. My final thoughts of the Mazda CX-5 Turbo Signature is honestly, this vehicle, or any of this second generation CX-5, must have been ahead of its time when it came out nearly 10 years ago at this point, because it still feels very relevant. It doesn't feel like an aging dinosaur, honestly. It almost feels like it's leading the pack of compact crossovers, which is a class that a lot of the automakers don't really put a lot of effort into making drastic, mind-blowing changes. They don't want to lose their core audience. For a lot of these companies, Mazda, Toyota, a lot of them, their compact crossover is their best-selling car globally. So are we really surprised why Mazda hasn't updated this in so long? It's still selling well. It's still selling as well as it ever has. I'm not necessarily surprised because this is a fantastic vehicle. I highly recommend you guys give it a try. If you are going to spend $30,000+ on a brand new vehicle or even a used one, test drive the competition, make sure you make the right decision for you, but I think this is a pretty darn good one, and those are my thoughts. Anyways, guys, what are yours? Comment them below. Like this video if you got anything out of it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the Goody Motor Mazda group. They are fantastic. I will link them below. Otherwise, I wish you guys the absolute best. Until next time, see ya.